Morning, folks. It's day 2 of my trip. Had a great night's sleep in my hammock. I think when you hike about 15 miles, it really makes a difference on how much you sleep that night. Had a great night's sleep. Right now I'm going to fetch my bear bag, which I put well away from my campsite, as I was always a little nervous about bears last night. But luckily, no encounters. My food bag looks like it's still there. So let's get this morning going. Morning. Well, we are all packed up and ready to hit the trail. Today's hike is not that long, around 10 miles, depending on where I can find a camp spot in the Alaska Basin. The first 3 miles look like they're going to be probably the most strenuous. This first mile and a half, I have about a 500-foot climb, which shouldn't be much. And then the next mile and a half, I have about an 800-foot climb, which shouldn't be much. And then it's kind of hiking on the Death Canyon shelf. And I hear that is spectacular, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it looks like a beautiful day, blue skies. It's about 40 degrees right now, perfect hiking weather. So let's get after it. Coming up to my first major trail junction, and sure enough, Alaska Basin is at 8.6 miles. That's where I'm headed. So for those who don't know, the Teton Crest Trail is not an official loop. The southern terminus starts back in the other direction, where you just saw that trail junction I showed going to Alaska Basin. And then it finishes up, I believe, at the end of Paintbrush Canyon at Jenny Lake. But the good thing about the Grand Teton National Park is that there's a lot of other connecting trails that you can make a loop out of it. You can come down Paintbrush, or you can come down Cascade Canyon, Death Canyon. There's several options depending on what you're comfortable with and how many miles you want to hike. For me, I'll be hiking down the Cascade Canyon because I hear it's one of the more scenic canyons in the park. So that's what I'll be doing. But now I got about 8.6 miles to Alaska Basin. So let's get it done. right, so this is Fox Creek Pass. We just came up, about 1,300 foot climb over the last 3 miles from my campsite. And now we are leaving Grand Teton National Park and heading into the Jedediah Smith Wilderness. Folks, just taking a little lunch break. Have a pretty good view here, and there's a creek right behind me, some shade. So I thought it's about time to have a nice little lunch. Today I have it's a beef jerky fat stick that I roll up in a tortilla, and I generally bring some kind of sauce like mayonnaise or Chick-fil-A sauce or something on it. And I also have some Cheez-It mix, which are great, and this little container that helps them from getting crushed, doesn't weigh too much, and that's what I'll be chowing on today. So I believe this is Death Canyon, and that is where I was yesterday morning when I saw the bears. So Death Canyon Trail comes along here, hikes through this forest, and then down probably another mile or two, and then it comes back up here on the shelf where you can access Alaska Basin. Say goodbye to the Death Canyon shelf and say hello to the Alaskan Basin. We have found camp at Alaskan Basin for the night. Not a big spot, I don't need one. Just need a couple of trees, which I have. And then I have this $1 million view. How about that? Sun will be setting over there, should be nice. Not a bad view from the other side of my camp as well. Beautiful area. All right, set up for camp here. Yesterday, I showed you my shelter with my Dutch Chameleon and my hammock gear hammock. Today, I thought I would talk more about my sleep system. So I figured I'd go over kind of like the big four of backpacking, one each day. So for my sleep system, for a hammock, I use an underquilt. That's my preference. And this is a Jacks or Better 20-degree underquilt that was specifically made for the Dutch chameleon. And the beautiful thing about this underquilt is that it zips into my hammock all the way, which is beautiful. So I don't have any extra cordage that I'm having to tie off here or tie off on the other end and kind of, adjust it as needed. All I really have to do is cinch up. Both sides have these little cords. You can cinch it up to get rid of the air pocket there, and that's about it. And it's been great. I've used it last night, obviously, and I've used it on another trip, and it has worked out fantastic. So, love the Jacks Are Better underquilt that works with the Dutch chameleon. I have a typical pillow that I use, Sea to Summit. I believe that's the Eros. That's a great pillow. I enjoy that. And then I have a top quilt that I use. And this is a war bonnet, 10-degree top quilt, and super, super comfortable. Kept me very warm. Didn't get down to 10 degrees, but I like the extra loft that it provides for me in the hammock and around my sides. So that's really it. That's my sleep system that I use for my trips, for my backpacking trips. It's pretty simple. Well, I thought I would show you another one of my chores. Typically one of my last chores of the day when backpacking, and that is hanging my Ursack. So a lot of people carry a bear canister, and sometimes a hard-sided one is required. But here in Grand Teton National Park, an IGC approved bear container is approved, which is my Ursack that I have. And so I put all of my food, all my trash, all my scented things, like suntan lotion, chapstick, stuff like that. And I put it all in here. And even further help it out, I put it in an odor-proof bag inside my Ursack to help minimize any odors that are getting out. So let me go hang it, and then I'll show you. All right, typically what I do is I'll find a tree, and I'm a good, 100 yards away from my campsite, and I find something with a good solid branch, and that rope, I tie a knot around it so that even if a bear does find it, he can't yank it off. And the bag is made of Kevlar, so he shouldn't be able to rip it open either. So that's kind of what I do. I pack that up at night, and that's kind of my last chore before I head to bed. Well, day 2 is in the books, and day 2 was just an explosion of the visual senses. I hiked about 10 miles from Upper Granite Canyon to Alaska Basin, and every step was visually stunning. The first few miles that I had, I'm coming through this valley with all the wildflowers and surrounded by the rock canyon walls. And then you hike up to Marion Lake, which was beautiful, had wildflowers around it and surrounded by a rock wall. And then you hike up to Fox Pass. And then as you come to Fox Pass, you kind of get your first glimpse of one of the Tetons. And the entire field is just covered in more wildflowers. I've never seen so many wildflowers in my life. So you're hiking along there for a few miles, and then you come up to the Death Canyon shelf. And that was pretty cool because you have this cool rock wall that's kind of on your west side, and then you're looking down into Death Canyon on your east side, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful area. One thing I do need to share is, you know, knew I was going to get to camp early, and I'm always worried about getting a camp spot, especially with the hammock and having trees. I knew Alaskan Basin was going to have limited trees. Well, I came across this group of like maybe 10, 12 guys, and when I stopped to have lunch, a few of them passed me. Well, I got into my mindset like, I need to get there. I need to get there quick. So I kind of blasted through the last part of the Death Canyon um, zone and just kind of put my head down because I didn't want to lose the potential of a camp spot. You know, and I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I'd have just taken my time, and it is what it is when you get here. It looks like there are pretty good opportunities here for hanging in several places. And I just kind of missed out on probably the last mile or two of that Death Canyon shelf, which was just a tremendous, beautiful area. And then as you're leaving the Death Canyon, you're coming down into the Alaskan Basin, and it was surprising me. I thought it was just going to be like this bowl in the ground, but it had these different levels and tiers that you're hiking down into the basin, and you could see all the trees down there and the running water, and it was awesome. It really was cool. And I actually would have missed this basin lake. This is where I'm camped at right now. If I hadn't seen these three guys, they had pulled over to the side off the trail, and this one guy was taking a picture. I'm like, oh, that's got to be it. Well, I was hiking the trail, and I hiked past them a little bit, and I'm like, I didn't see any lake. Well, the lake is not as big as I was thinking it'd be. Nothing as big as like Marion Lake. So I hiked over to where they were at, and then sure enough, there was one of the and there's a few basin lakes, but there's one of the basin lakes that's right here by the trail. And so I've found this great little spot here. I'm in the shade. I got some great trees, great view, easy access to water. So turned out really, really well. And just another beautiful day, blue skies. The weather has been great, and hoping that it continues on tomorrow.